Welcome to the Work the System podcast, where we help entrepreneurs make more and work less using systems. And I'm your host, Josh Fonger. Today we have a special guest. We have Erato Aristotelous. Erato studied information management at Rhodes University, South Africa, where she subsequently became specialized as an SAP consultant, business process manager, and project manager. She has worked her way through Europe as a consultant project leader over a period of 19 years and has consulted at over 8 global companies such as Coca Cola, Unilever, Accenture, Cap, Gemini, Xerox, Carlsberg, and more. Erato's work has allowed her to live in 5 countries within the borders of Africa and Europe. And I'm super excited to have Erato on because she's been part of my Certified Business Systems Professional program. She's kind of the standout student, and she's been doing some really great work systemizing companies. And so today we're going to kind of mine her brain and find out how she helps companies using the work system method. So Erato, why don't you give us the backstory? How did you get here? Tell us about your background in systemization.
Thank you, Josh, and thank you for the invite and sharing the space with you. It's a big privilege. Okay, so how did I get into the space? So I've always been intrigued by systems, and I come from a software background. And it's also a software background in working in big multinationals. And I've always been interested in how some companies work so well and others don't. And I was pretty young when I read the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And he talks a lot about systemizing your business. And I had known also from then that there was something unique about the way you structure your business or your life or the way you see things and in systems, and how this can impact the quality of your life or your working life. And when I was, I had found the book when I was probably about 5-6 years ago. I'd read it, and then it was right on point when I felt like I needed to expand my avenues, and I received the email with regards to the professional certification, and I was like, it was right at the right time, and I took it on. And yeah, it's been an awesome experience because not only have I learned a lot, but I've been exposed to a lot of people in the space that are interested in the same things as I am. So I feel like I've leveled up based on that. And also I'm learning so much from the clients that I work with. And also I've been able to see that I'm able to add value in the businesses that require the services that I provide.
Mm-hmm. Well, cool. So why don't you tell us a little bit about those services? You and I were talking a bit beforehand, but you kind of have a unique way of delivering your systemization. Yes. You want to tell us about that?
Yeah, of course. Okay, so one of my first clients after being certified, I decided to really go to the bottom of the let's say the ladder, because as a consultant, of course, I mean, I'm experienced as a consultant, but I really wanted to get in, like, my hands dirty, and I started writing procedures for one of my clients. And I started structuring the procedures, and then you and I had a conversation, and I was thinking, okay, there must be a way to scale this, because it does take a lot of time, creating the procedures and making them efficient and asking all the right questions. And obviously there's also different stages. I mean, the first one is documenting, the second stage is to make it more efficient, and the third is really, really like the top line optimization. So, and the clients I was working with, they didn't even have any procedures. So I thought, okay, how can we cover that? And then you and I were having a discussion, and we thought, okay, was there a way we could scale this? And that's how the birth of procedurewriters.com came about. And yeah, there we go. It's been an interesting journey. It started from being a really tiny little baby to something, that provides a really good service. And I'm really happy about that.
Yeah. And you probably don't know this, and I'm probably more happy about it than you are, because when I first had my first clients using the work system method 10 years ago,
yes,
I was writing a lot of procedures for them, reviewing them, and it took a ton of time. And I was like, you know what? I wish there was a company that just would do this at volume that I could take this to, and then they could just crank out a ton of procedures. And that's really cool. So you took the bull by the horns and started this company, procedurawriters.com, which we at Work System actually use, send some of our procedures there to get written. So yes, tell us kind of how does it work?
Okay, so look, what we focused really on was to deliver a solution that was really simplified I mean, if you think about anyone that does create a procedure, it's the typical person that executes the procedure. So we want to take that pain away, because if you're doing the work, first of all, you're not focused on writing the procedure. Second of all, you don't like it. It takes a specific kind of person to actually write procedures. You have to like detail, you have to be structured, you have to be disciplined. And most of the time as an employee, you don't want to be doing that. You've got so many more important things to be focused on at work. So even if you do it, you may not deliver it, or you may not deliver it on the right standard. So what we do is we take that pain away. And so it's 3 easy steps. So what we expect from the person that executes the procedure is to just record the procedure, send it to us, and then we strip down into the steps, and we create the screenshots, the simple steps, simple commands, not over, very easy to follow. And then we send the procedure back to the client, and then they do a review. And it's a very simple 3-step process. Basically, that's it.
Why don't you walk us through what that would be? Because I mean, certainly you've got clients walking through this right now. So is there a client, or maybe a client story, maybe nothing confidential, but where you can talk about it, what that does?
Yeah, of course. I actually, luckily enough, I got a testimonial from a client 2 weeks ago, and we basically completed the project of procedure writing for him. And he basically wrote a testimonial saying how, because we optimized his procedures, he was able to eradicate 2 hours a week for his team. And that's because he used to have 2 operations meetings a week to basically, firefight all the issues that were raised. And because he optimized his procedures, and he basically saved 2 hours a week for 4 people. That's 8 hours a week. So if you can imagine, now let's quantify that. 8 hours, let's say on average, maybe 8 hours times by 30, let's say $30 per $30 times by how many, let's say not 52 weeks in a year, let's say it's 47. How much does that come to? And then times by the hours. I think it's about 11K savings just from that.
Yeah, and that was what was the size of the company? That wasn't a very large company either, was it?
No. It's a I think it's probably about a 10-man company.
Okay.
It's an online business, but they're planning to scale. That's also why they created these procedures, because they want to use this template to sell lots of other products online. Mm-hmm. And that was the purpose, and we were able to achieve that. And now the CEO is actually focused more on strategy work, and he's not in operations. Before, he used to spend so much time in these operations, he used to get frustrated. In fact, he used to hate being in these meetings, So
yeah, no, I think that's a great example. And so even small companies like that, they know and see the value because they're trying to grow, which I think that would be one reason. I suspect, and you were working on all these large companies as well. Like, is this a big deal in large companies? Can you see a value in this for large companies?
Of course. I mean, look, large companies have already got their procedures, and they're already working, and they are definitely steps ahead than smaller companies, but it doesn't mean that they don't have room to improve, because they need to take it to the next level. Because most of the big companies, what they've been doing is that they've been doing the same things all the time, and then someone comes in and they do the same thing, and they don't actually question why they're doing things, or is there a better way to do things. They just follow what they've been doing all the time, and they don't actually question, why am I doing this? Is this still needed? And can we do this better? Mm-hmm. And really, it's all about asking the right questions to get better results. And most people don't ask the right questions anymore, because sometimes they're so inundated with work that they just want to execute, and they just have to execute.
So let's say that, this is what always happens to me when I'm talking to someone who's kind of curious. They're interested, but they aren't sure if they should go forward. And this is for the work system method, for any of my coaching consulting clients. Yeah. You probably get this too. They want to know, what is the ROI going to be? Because it takes some effort to kind of make this happen. So is there a way to figure out what the value of this is going to be? You have a tool for that, right?
Yes, exactly. So my recommendation is actually to go onto our website, procedurewriters.com. There is a calculation there that actually calculates the return on investment. So basically, you're able to say, okay, how many, if I create or improve, let's say, 50 procedures, and you say, let's say you save 1 hour per procedure, and then you'll say, okay, how much is an hour per employee? Let's say maybe it's $50, and then in 12 months, and then that we will calculate how much savings you'll make in a year. And the truth is that most companies really focus so much on growth and how to grow and how to improve the revenue, but what they can't really think about is like, okay, how can I improve my costs so that I can improve my profits? And if you can improve your costs, automatically you'll be saving so much more money. And not only that, you'll also have a better turnover because your employees will be more satisfied because of dealing with problems and only with problems. They're working in less stressful conditions. Their work is a lot more predictable and consistent. And in general, it will create a much better culture within the organization if you have proper procedures in place.
Yep.
And that's just the working operational work, never mind a culture that you can build around that, in building a culture of improvement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say anyone who's curious should definitely check out that tool, because you'd be amazed what just having your company, your operation being, the systems are already there, but you just don't have them documented yet. So just getting them documented so your team can work with them, optimize them, refine them, use them for training, cross-training, all those things. How much money is just already in your business without having to do some kind of massive risky innovation. It's already there. You just haven't taken the time to make it better. So that would definitely do that. Now, the other question that I know people are thinking about when they think of, handing over the way they do things to someone else to write them for them, a lot of owners will think, this is what I get often, is they'll say, well, we'll just do it ourselves. Like, this seems pretty simple. You just write a procedure down. I think we can do this ourselves. And so they're on the fence. Is there a reason why they shouldn't do it themselves, or how should they make that decision?
Okay, well, first of all, the first question is, okay, if you can be doing it for yourself, why haven't you done it?
Yeah.
First question. Second of all is your team trained to do it? Because there's a certain way to write where it's digestible. And we have a team of people that actually is trained to write in simple language, to be able to understand it in the fastest way possible, because you want them to digest the information. The second thing is that, most employees don't come with focus. They need to focus on doing their core work. So if they're going to be doing stuff that they, first of all, don't like, and it's not their core work, they're going to deliver something that's not actually of the best quality. And remember, these procedures need to be in such a good and structured way that, let's say, for example, you found two of your key employees have found a better job, okay, and they want to leave the company. If they take the IP with them, then you don't have any information. Let's say they do have the procedures, but it's written in a bad way. Imagine what will happen in terms of work and how much it's going to cost you. And also, even anyway, if it's structured in the right way, in a good quality way, your training a new employee will be cut down from, let's say, from 3 days to 1 day, because you'll say, okay, this is how I work. Then they'll spend a day shadowing you, and then the rest of the time they can go back to the procedures and they can work on their own. And this is what you want at the end of the day, is to create a culture of individuals that are empowered and not reliant on each other, and all the IP stays in the business.
Yep. Yeah, I totally agree. That's always the worst, is when I worked with a company where their key employees just left and they say, gosh, we wish we would have had that documented before they leave. Yeah. It's just too late. It's too late at that point.
It is too late. Yeah.
Well, I don't want to keep you too late on a Friday night. I'm really glad you made the time to do this, Erato, because your service, procedurewriters.com, is essential. Anyone who's thought about this, but they just never did it, they should just outsource it. It's because it's probably something they're never going to do. So I think this is amazing. So people should check that out. But before I let you go, what's one question that I didn't ask you, but you think I probably should have asked you? Like anything that I forgot to ask you about?
I think what's important really is that companies need to understand that if you have problems, the question that you need to ask me is like, what's the one advice you would give companies, really,
Mm-hmm.
as small or medium or any, is that most companies are so used to their problems that they don't see them. And I would like to turn that around and say, they should be, the problems that they have is that they should be expecting those specific problems, when at the end of the day, they're not problems. In other words, that you need to have procedures in place for those problems. And for example, let's talk about one of the multinational companies that I work with. They always had a backup salespeople. So because they knew people get sick. So they planned for those days. And that's just a procedure that they put in, that they're going to have extra people to be trained for that. So if you go to a restaurant and then you can see that they've only got one waitress, and they say, oh no, our other waitress is sick. That's not because the waitress was sick. It's because they didn't plan for that problem. Do you understand? So that's what I'm trying. That's the one thing that I would say is for any CEO or any, let's say even an employee, is that when there's a problem, you can solve it by putting in the right procedure and asking the right questions.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's a great insight, that people are used to the problems they have. And so they've either minimized them or tried to forget about them, and having a second set of eyes come in there to help, and then a procedure to prevent it or solve it, is a smart thing to think about. It's like we always say the phrase, dysfunction is gold, as in you have dysfunction in your business, but if you fixed it, there's a lot of money in fixing that problem.
Yeah, show me the money, right?
Yeah, and the systems will solve it. Well, that's very cool. All right, so where can people find out more about you, Erato? Where should they go?
Yeah, they can go to procedurewriters.com. They can find us there. I highly recommend that they run the return on investment calculation. There's also a schedule call. We can have a free consultation. We can talk about the business. We can see some insights, see how we can help and deliver value to our prospects and our clients. Yeah, and that's it.
Awesome, Erato. Well, again, thanks again for making time for us Friday, and everybody who's
Josh,
on the fence about getting their systems documented and they're afraid it's going to take too much time, too much effort. I would reach out to Erato. Go to procedurewriters.com, and they'll be able to help you out. And again, thanks everybody for joining us today on today's podcast. Maybe you're catching this on Facebook Live or iTunes or any other player, YouTube. If you leave us a review, we do pull one review out of a hat a week, and then we mail a copy of that book right there, Work the System, right to your house. So maybe you could be the lucky winner. Just leave us a review. Otherwise, we will see you all next week. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Josh. Thank you, everyone. Ciao. Bye.